They gave her paralyzed daughter away as a joke, but he turned her into something no one expected. Amid the white silence of the Bitterroot Mountains in Montana, it felt like the world had forgotten about humans. The trees were heavy with thick snow, their frozen branches drooping like tired arms. The winter sun cast a cold glow over the forest, where signs of life were as rare as warmth. At the heart of this frozen expanse sat a metallic dome, half buried under layers of snow. The facility was secret, left behind after the end of the second invasion. Officially, it didn't exist. Only a few locked-away files and restricted Pentagon vaults still mention Lab M-23, where alien cooperation experiments had once been conducted. Now, the dome was silent. Until today, because he had come back. Ethan Crow, former Marine and now a biomechanical technician, knew damn well he wasn't supposed to be there. The government had ordered everyone to stay away from any alien tech the Alshar left behind. But Ethan hadn't followed orders blindly since the day he watched his brother die in a trench on Europa's moon, killed during a mission that had high-level clearance. He made himself two promises that day: never again be someone's pawn, and if he ever found anything alien left behind on this planet, he'd protect it. As he cut through the frozen hatch with his torch, Ethan stepped into the metal corridors of the dome. The lights flickered. Water dripped on a cracked concrete. The place reeked of rust, ice, and forgotten time. And then, in Containment Chamber 7B, he saw her. She was lying down, covered by an old thermal sheet, connected to dead wires and lifeless monitors. Her skin was a deep, glowing green, like moss that grows in caves untouched by light. Her face was elegant, almost royal, and her jet-black hair flowed down to her hips, though now tangled by dirt and years of neglect. But what struck him the most were her eyes. They were open, completely still but alive. She didn't speak, didn't move, didn't flinch. But Ethan, who had seen enough men die with lifeless stares, knew instantly she was there, trapped inside her own body. He read the broken digital file next to the pod. Auto-translated. Designation: D4K Hara, daughter of Baron Zernai. Physical status: total neuromuscular paralysis, grade S3, irreversible by Alshar standards. Transfer reason: offer to humans as a symbolic gesture of alliance. Additional note: she's useless. Consider a prank between empires. Ethan felt his throat tighten. They gave their own daughter away as a cosmic joke. A twisted prank between species. But lying there before him was someone. A person. A soul. Alive, aware, unmoving, locked inside herself, and discarded like a broken doll. He knelt beside the pod and spoke, not knowing if she could understand. "Hey, I'm Ethan. If you're still in there, I want you to know I'm not like them, and I'm not leaving you here." No reaction from her body, but he saw it. A tiny flicker in her eyes. Almost nothing. Like a silent blink. She heard him, and in that moment, without knowing exactly why, something shifted inside Ethan. It wasn't pity. It wasn't duty. It was something far more dangerous. An unspoken vow. The dome trembled faintly under the force of the mountain winds, but inside, time stood still. Ethan was finishing the last of the power connections to the life support pod. The LEDs began to blink, slowly, hesitantly, as if the machine were waking up from a nightmare too long. The alien woman, D4K Hara, or Kara, as he now called her in his mind, remained motionless. But a heartbeat trace appeared on the fogged-up monitor. "We're bringing you back, even if I have to rebuild your body with my own hands." Ethan wasn't a full-blown scientist. He was a self-taught engineer with too many medals and scars no academic respected. But he knew enough about Alshar tech. He'd torn apart crashed ships, salvaged quantum prosthetics from restricted zones, and learned to work at the bleeding edge between biology and machinery like few others. And now, all of it would be tested. As he worked, Ethan scanned Kara's atrophied nerves with his military tablet. She had suffered a rare type of neurodissociative attack, an Alshar weapon called a command rift, which severed consciousness from the body without killing it. It was cruel, and, according to its own creators, irreversible. But Ethan didn't believe in irreversible, not when it came from beings who saw other lives as disposable. That's when the alert went off. A red icon flashed on the station's console. Orbital approach warning. A capsule had entered Earth's atmosphere, headed straight for Montana. He checked the screen. Origin, Zernai Prime. Type, diplomatic inspection capsule. Estimated time of landing, 1 hour. Ethan cursed under his breath. Of course you sent someone. Can't let your little joke turn into something you can't control, can you? He knew what was coming. An alien officer, likely sent to check on the prisoner, erase any evidence, or worse, finish what they hadn't dared to do in front of humans. And then the dilemma hit. He could hide Kara, but if she was found, they'd take her back to the Alshar, and she'd be discarded like biological waste. Or he could fight, not with weapons, with information. Ethan connected his tablet to a pirate satellite network he'd kept online since the war ended. He prepped an emergency broadcast with medical scans, photos of Kara, and a message addressed to a list of old contacts, road doctors, dissident scientists, people who owed him favors. A single line pulsed on screen. She's alive, and she feels everything. From the corner of the room, he spoke softly, not knowing if she could hear, but hoping she did. They're coming, Kara. They might kill me, but if I fall, someone will know who you are. And one day, you'll move again. Then a new sound. Faint, broken, almost imperceptible. A noise coming from her throat. It wasn't speech. It wasn't a scream. It was as if every part of her body was struggling to make a single sound reach the world. And that was enough. Ethan rushed to her side, grabbed her freezing hand, and squeezed it tightly. I heard you, Kara. I heard you. Hold on. We're not stopping. Outside, the enemy capsule cut through the sky. And inside that dome, for the first time since the war began, someone wasn't running from an alien. He was getting ready to protect one. The sky turned black before the capsule even touched down. Ethan watched from the dome's side entrance, hidden beneath snow and a thermal cloaking blanket. The ship wasn't large, but the emblem painted on its hull made him go rigid. The insignia of the Zernai nobility. The personal barony Kara came from. It was official. Her father had sent someone to retrieve her. The capsule landed with mathematical precision, 300 meters from the base entrance, kicking up a storm of ice and ionized vapor. The red lights along its fuselage glowed against the snow-covered trees like a synthetic aurora. Cold, hostile, imperial. The hatch opened. An Alshar stepped out, tall, slender, wrapped in a flowing black ceremonial robe. His face was covered by a silver mask, the kind emissaries wore when a mission might require witness removal. Ethan sat still, rifle across his lap. He didn't fire. Not yet. The alien walked calmly to the side panel at the dome's entrance. He typed in a code, one that clearly still worked under the station's old protocols. The door creaked as it opened. He stepped inside. Ethan had no choice. He sprinted through the side tunnels, disabling old traps and recalibrating sensors. Time was slipping through his fingers. When he finally made it back to Sector 7B, the emissary was already there, standing in front of Kara's pod, wearing an expression that could only be described as indifference. She's still alive. The voice came in flawless English, with a strange, musical undertone, warped slightly by the mask. Curious. Ethan stepped out of the shadows, rifle raised. Take one more step, and you don't leave here. The emissary turned to face him. No fear. You are the human called Ethan Crow, cross-referenced with the Europa War logs. 17 confirmed kills. A deserter. Call it what you want, Ethan said. But if you came to kill her, you're gonna have to go through me. Silence followed, almost respectful. I didn't come to kill her. I came to ensure she remains out of the way, as she always has. The alien stepped forward. Ethan gripped the rifle tighter. But what came next wasn't an attack. It was worse. Lies mixed with half-truths. You think she's a victim, human? She isn't. Kara was created to be a bridge between empires. When she failed, we kept her alive out of mercy. She feels no pain, no anger. She's a piece. You call that peace? Ethan growled, being tossed aside like a breathing doll, knowing everything, feeling everything, but not even able to move her own tongue. The emissary came closer. His mask reflected the soft glow of the pod. So what will you do, human? Carry her in your arms for the rest of your life. Trying to fix what can't be fixed. Give a new name to a dead body. Ethan drew a breath, deep and steady. No, I'm going to give her a choice. He pressed a button on his handheld console. Behind the emissary, the room's monitors came to life. They showed Kara's face, recorded just minutes earlier. Her eyes moving, struggling to speak, her throat emitting sound, her heart rate spiking. The emissary froze, just for a moment, but long enough for Ethan to say, "She's fighting, alone, and still, she survived all this. So you tell me, who's weaker, Kara, or you, sent here to bury what your empire's too ashamed to face?" The emissary said nothing. Then, slowly, he took a step back. "This will not be forgotten. House Zernai does not tolerate defiance. House Zernai," Ethan said, full of contempt, threw its daughter away like a joke. And now she's got someone on her side. The alien took one last look at Kara, then turned and walked out in silence. Minutes later, Ethan sealed the hatch and activated the dome's full cloaking protocols. Inside, exhausted and eyes burning, he sat down next to her pod, took her hand. "They won't touch you again, Kara. I swear." And in response, he felt it. A movement. Faint. Slow. But real. Her pinky finger had curled. It was the first true sign. She could still come back. And now, this war was personal. The morning after the confrontation, the dome remained silent. Outside, the emissary's capsule had vanished without a trace, either back to orbit or retrieved by some stealth system. But the air still carried weight, as if something ancient had awakened beneath the ice. Ethan had barely slept, just enough to not collapse. And when he woke up, it wasn't an alarm that pulled him out of the haze. It was a sound. The end. He shot up, looked at the monitor. Heart rate, normal. But there was a new reading. Involuntary vocal activity. He ran to the pod. Kara was still motionless, but her eyes were sharper than ever. Focused. Reactive. He knelt beside her. "Kara, can you hear me?" This time, the sound came stronger. Broken. Like glass under pressure. And that was enough. He almost cried. Not from grief, but from confirmation. From the absolute certainty that she wasn't just a living mind. She was a whole soul, trying to break through. The neural stimulation sessions he'd been running, with magnetic pulses, experimental, unstable, improvised, they were working. In that moment, Ethan made a decision that would change everything. He would open the pod. Until then, Kara had been kept inside a sealed life support system that maintained her temperature, oxygen levels, and neural pressure with absolute precision. Opening it meant real risk, shock, respiratory failure, even sudden death. But he knew she needed to feel the world, to stop being just eyes and ears. "Kara," he said, voice steady, "if you understand me, blink once." She blinked. Ethan smiled. "That's all I needed. Let's begin." With trembling hands, he released the side latches of the pod. Warm vapor hissed out, and the frozen forest air rushed into the room. Kara's body shuddered from the thermal shock, and a second later, her lungs expelled air on their own. She wasn't just alive anymore. Now she was breathing. He lifted her in his arms. Her body was light, fragile, muscles wasted from years of immobility. Her skin, cold like damp porcelain. But there was warmth inside her now. Something pulsing. Something being born. He carried her to the center of the station, where the old fusion reactor still emitted a faint thermal field. He laid her on a thermal cot covered in blankets and sensors. Reconnected the stabilizers, but this time with room for touch, for presence. And there, for the first time, she whispered a full sentence. "Why are you doing this?" The question wasn't just biological. It was existential. Ethan paused, took a breath, and answered. "Because when I looked at you, I didn't see a joke. I saw someone with the most alive eyes I've ever seen. You weren't made to be thrown away. You were made for something more." She closed her eyes, not from exhaustion, but from emotion. And silently, a tear rolled from the corner of her eye, tracing down her green skin before vanishing into the blanket. That's when the system alert echoed. Transmission intercepted. Target, Ethan Crow. Source, U.S. Government. Emergency voice message. Level, Omega. He pressed the button. The voice was cold. "Ethan Crow, this is the Directorate of Special Operations. You have been detected in a restricted zone with a diplomatic-class alien asset. Capture order authorized. Consider yourself a target. Resistance will result in termination." His face hardened. They knew, and they were coming. He looked at Kara, now fighting to keep her eyes open, trying to smile with immense effort, as if to say, "Don't regret this." Ethan stood, not as a soldier, but as a guardian. "Kara, I promise you, you will walk through the trees of this world. You'll feel the sun, and no one, not yours, not mine, will stop you. And if you've ever rooted for an impossible love, if you've ever seen beauty where the world only saw weakness, subscribe. There's more stories like this on the way." The sky over Montana darkened in a way winter couldn't explain. Black drones pierced the clouds with silent thrusters, and ghost helicopters with no insignias swept through the forest like predators on the hunt. The government had activated Chimera Protocol, a special op used only when alien tech threatened Earth stability. Kara's presence had been labeled a zero-level threat, even without weapons, even paralyzed, even while fighting just to breathe on her own. Ethan watched the monitors as he guided an IV probe into her fragile body, feeding her nutrients. Over the last 2 days, she had started moving her fingers more often, trying to form words, and once, whether by instinct or sheer effort, she had tried to lift her arm. It was like watching a flower break through concrete, millimeter by millimeter. She was coming back, but the noose was tightening. The radar showed a 3-pronged approach: armored ground units from the south, fast patrols from the north, and a satellite-locked observation ship parked directly above the dome. They weren't sending diplomats this time. They were sending cleaners. Ethan had no time left. His old neural pulse transmitter, reverse-engineered Alshar tech, was coming online. An experimental device capable of amplifying motor signals and sending microimpulses into the nerves of a damaged body. An artificial neural bridge. The last test had left a volunteer in a coma. But Kara wasn't a typical volunteer. She blinked when he explained the risk, and whispered, "Do it." With a tightness in his chest, Ethan positioned the electrodes along her spine. He linked the pulse directly to his own neural system, forming a live interface between them. "This might hurt, Kara," he warned, "but if it works, you'll hate me for not doing it sooner." He activated it. The shock hit them both. He screamed. She convulsed. It was like an electric storm ripping through dormant muscles. The cot nearly flipped over. And then, silence. Ethan collapsed to his knees, gasping. "Kara? Kara." Then came a dry sound, her feet touching the floor. He looked up and saw her, standing, shaking, arms raised like fragile branches in the wind, knees trembling, but upright. She fell a second later, her body still too weak. But that was everything. The confirmation. The revolution. He rushed to her side, holding her gently in his arms. She whispered, almost laughing, "I felt it." He hadn't realized he was crying, but the base's sensors had felt it too. The internal monitoring system, barely held together through hacks, had recorded everything. And without intention, it broadcast a fragment to the phantom network Ethan used. That clip landed on the servers of a group of dissident exobiologists, silenced years ago. One of them saw it and shared it. Within hours, the image of Kara trying to stand, supported by her own legs, eyes wet, green skin glowing under sterile light, was circulating across secret servers, hidden forums, and pirate transmissions. And with it, the war changed sides. An old NASA scientist sent Ethan a message. "Don't stop. We're coming." A nurse who once served on the moon replied, "My son was born mute. Today he speaks. She can too." An Alshar defector, hiding in Mexico, wrote, "D4K Hara was a princess. They lied. She has gifts you can't imagine." For the first time, Ethan wasn't alone. But with that came a cost. The next morning, the system detected the activation of a kinetic warhead in orbit. The base would be destroyed in under 48 hours. He turned to Kara, now awake, breathing hard, trying to move her fingers like she was reaching for something invisible in the air. "They're going to wipe us out," she answered, hoarse but steady. "Then, let's leave first." He smiled, and there, between broken machines, trails of snow, and makeshift wires, the escape plan was born. The base was doomed. There were 36 hours left until the kinetic warhead, a tungsten plasma spear from orbit, would reduce the dome, Kara, and Ethan into silence and dust, erasing all traces that a new beginning had ever happened there. But in that moment, destruction fell far away. Because Kara was standing, even if just for seconds, even if supported by exo braces, balance bars, and Ethan's steady hand, she was walking. One step at a time, he said, his voice soft, caught somewhere between hope and fear. Just think about the next foot. Don't try to beat the world today. I already won, she answered through clenched teeth, eyes narrowed from pain. When I saw you and knew you didn't run. She stumbled. He caught her. Their touch was no longer just clinical. It was intimate, a bond forged through pain, through hope, and through a promise. No one would be left behind. That night, they rested together by the reactor core. Ethan made a simple meal, not gourmet, but human. Rehydrated powdered eggs, synthetic coffee, and even a pack of instant noodles he'd saved for a when all hell breaks loose day. Kara tasted it, grimaced, and said, "Is this poison?" He laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. "No, it's field food, but it's the best we've got. Next time, I promise, hot chocolate and fresh bread." Human promises, she murmured, looking at the ceiling, are strangely comforting. After the feast, Ethan gently cleaned the pressure sores on her skin, applied restructuring serum, and massaged her muscles. She never complained about the pain, but he could tell, the clenched jaw, the rapid blinking, the uneven breath. And as he cared for her, something unexpected happened. She reached out her arm, slowly, tense, as if every cell screamed in protest. And with two trembling fingers, she touched his face. A simple gesture, but coming from her, it was monumental. "You're tired too," she whispered. "I'm exhausted, Kara. But when you touch me, I remember there's something here worth all of it." She looked at him for a long moment. Then, with effort, she laughed. A rough, broken sound, but real. "You are irrational." "I'm human," he replied. "We were born to love what others throw away." That night, she slept, and Ethan stayed awake, watching the contours of her face under the soft blue glow of the monitors. Her green skin seemed to pulse with subtle tones. Long lashes, a fragile neck, and still, there was something regal about her. Contained ferocity. He felt it. This wasn't about the mission anymore. She wasn't just someone he had saved. She was the only soul that saw him back. By sunrise, the plan was ready. They'd escape through a forgotten underground tunnel, one the drones didn't scan, climb the ridge to an old smuggler's cabin once used to traffic tech, and from there, activate a rescue signal on the Black Alliance frequency, the secret coalition of human and alien dissidents. It wouldn't be easy, but now she could walk, and he wasn't fighting alone. When Ethan handed her a walking staff and she gripped it firmly, he said, "If anyone asks if you can walk," she finished with a weary smile, "Tell them I learned from a stubborn human." Snow fell like an iron curtain that morning. The gray sky, heavy with static electricity, signaled the warhead was already in position. Above the clouds, the tungsten spear of the kinetic strike spun slowly, waiting for final clearance to fall with the force of 1,000 nuclear bombs. No human would survive its impact. No proof of Kara or Ethan or the truth they carried would remain. But they were already running. Kara trembled, but she walked. With every step through the evacuation tunnel, she fought against muscles still waking, bones that had forgotten how to bend. Ethan supported her with one arm around her waist, his face wet not just from the snow seeping through the cracks, but from fear. Real, palpable. 20 minutes to impact. They emerged through a hidden exit beneath a frozen boulder. The forest was dark, and ahead, nearly invisible under the white cover, stood the old smuggler's cabin, the one where they'd activate the rescue signal. But what awaited them wasn't silence. 3 government soldiers, exo-assisted armor, gravitational rifles, all pointed straight at them. "Ethan Crow," one said, voice amplified, "you are carrying an unauthorized alien asset. Surrender now." Ethan raised his hands, but moved in front of her. "She's unarmed. She's barely able to walk. This isn't a weapon. It's a person." Kara tried to steady herself behind him, but her vision was spinning. The world tilted. Pain surged, sharp in her shoulders, her legs. One of the soldiers hesitated. The other didn't. He fired. The gravitational pulse hit Ethan in the side. He was hurled against a tree. A sickening crack, flesh torn, bones shattered. Kara screamed. For the first time, she truly screamed. And in that scream, something happened. The sensors in the soldiers' suits failed. Their radios crackled, and the snow around Kara rose, suspended in the air, as if it answered her pain. She didn't know how, but something inside her opened. Her eyes glowed, a deep emerald. The earth beneath her feet trembled. Tree trunks cracked, and the soldiers, trained killers with nerves of steel, stepped back. "What the hell is that?" one of them shouted. She didn't answer. She walked, alone. No crutches, no support, no Ethan. Each step ripped through the universe that had bound her. She reached him, fell to her knees. Ethan was bleeding, but smiling. "Knew you were more than all this." "Don't talk," she whispered, touching his face. "You're not leaving me now." He laughed, even while coughing blood. "I'd never leave you. You gave me back, more than any body can carry." She cried, but not from weakness. She cried from fury, from love, from life. Behind her, the soldiers hesitated, because they no longer knew if they stood before a prisoner or something sacred. And then, the old pirate signal triggered. A black ship, small, fast, broke through the cloud cover. It dove like a blade of glass, landing just meters away. The hatch opened. A man stepped out. Old, eyes burned by radiation, hands scarred beyond recognition. "Come, now, this is your only chance." Kara looked at Ethan. He was unconscious, but alive. She lifted him, just like he once had carried her, step by step, tier by tier. And as the ship climbed, the warhead fell. The dome was swallowed by light. The forest bloomed into a crater of eternal silence. But they were gone. The ship soared low over the northern hemisphere, invisible to radars. Its pilot was an old war medic, branded a traitor by Earth, a savior to the broken. Ethan floated in a med tank, unconscious. The shot had shattered 3 ribs, ruptured his spleen, and grazed his liver. If they'd arrived 5 minutes later, he would have died in the snow. Kara never left his side. She wore human clothes now, thick pants, a black shirt, and a coat far too big for her thin frame. She still limped, still hurt, but now it was she who walked his room, checking lines, cleaning wounds, running the tank. She had learned everything she could in 24 hours. "When he wakes up," she said to the pilot, "he'll ask if it hurt." The man, silent, finally replied, "And what will you say?" Kara looked at Ethan, and for the first time since the escape, smiled gently. "Yes, it hurt like dying, but it was worth every cell." Days passed. News of the accidental explosion in Montana spread, but the interference was too heavy to uncover the truth. Still, in encrypted channels, the image of the alien girl who walked and wept for a human spread like wildfire. Deserter doctors began dissecting Ethan's neural protocol. Alshar dissidents sent messages, and some confirmed what many suspected. Kara was not just an unwanted daughter. She was the heir to a mutant bloodline, born with extreme empathic sensory perception, a rare trait able to influence matter through emotion. They had tried to tame her, and when they failed, they paralyzed her, sent her to Earth as a joke, as a warning, a shame. But now, she was the living flame that could unite 2 worlds. And then, Ethan woke up, slowly, with pain, but breathing on his own. "Kara," she turned, her face lit from within. "Ethan." He tried to sit up, but she stopped him with a gentle hand. "I'm here," she said, kneeling beside the tank. "You didn't leave me, and I'm not leaving you. You walk for me." "No," she said, shaking her head. "I'll walk with you." He laughed, hoarse, broken, but whole. "Now what?" She looked up at the sky through the ship's circular windows. "Now, we find out how to walk through the world together." Ethan raised his hand. She took it. There was no kiss. Not yet. But there was a future. And for the first time since the universe had laughed at them, they laughed back. In the low orbit station, where their ship now rested in silence, time felt different. There were no bombs, no alarms, no cold cutting into bone, just the sound of breath, of the support machines, and of a new voice, no longer trembling. "When they threw me onto that world, I thought I'd die seeing the sky only through glass," Kara said, gazing out, where Earth turned slowly below. "I thought I was the Empire's final joke, their last disgrace." She sat beside Ethan, who now walked with a customized cane. His body healed slowly, but his heart had already come back whole. It was a joke, Ethan said, half smiling, but it was a good one, because the punchline came from where no one expected. She looked at him, her eyes, once dim, now full of liquid light. You saw me, Ethan, before I could even move a finger. You saw something I'd forgotten even existed. He gently held her hand. I didn't see a princess. I didn't see a patient. I saw a force trying to break out of a broken body. And I decided I'd either die trying or live long enough to see you walk. Now what? She asked again. He turned to her. Now I want to see you dance. To scream. To live through every cell in your body. Because you're not some broken legacy. You're the woman who fell from the sky and made a runaway human believe again. Kara closed her eyes, and when she opened them, something new shimmered there. You know we don't belong. Not in your world. Not in mine. Not yet, he replied. But maybe home doesn't come first. Maybe it's something we build between us. They leaned closer. Slow, like everything between them, and kissed for the first time. No urgency. No fear. Only certainty. Inside that kiss lived all the scars. The years she'd spent trapped in a body no one wanted. The battles Ethan had fought for a war he didn't even understand. The scream. The snow. The blood. And the words he once said. Words that now made perfect sense. You weren't made to be discarded. You were made for more than this. And now, she knew it. She was made to walk among the trees. To feel the sun on green skin. To love and be loved. 5 years later, in the frozen forests of northern Canada, where snow still blankets the ground half the year, stands a discreet structure nestled among ancient trees. Kara Station 1. Officially, it's a center for advanced neural research. Off the record, it's a refuge. Here, humans and aliens live together, in quiet, in peace. They care for patients abandoned by governments. They develop neural prosthetics for forgotten bodies. And they ask questions the world still fears to answer. At the center of it all, two figures walk side by side. Ethan, gray-haired now, scarred, slower to speak, but eyes as sharp as ever. Kara, vivid green skin, long braided black hair, dressed in soft clothes, smiling warmly at a short tentacled child running across the yard. They're not legends. They're presents. The new arrivals are here, Ethan says, holding a clipboard. 2 young Alshar and a human baby with full motor atrophy. Kara looks at him. How many said it wasn't worth it? All of them, he grins. And still, here we are. She takes his hand, and together, they step into the dining hall, where over 20 patients eat in assisted silence. Kara walks past them, one by one, and every single one of them smiles back. They know who she is. She is the miracle, not because she survived, but because she chose to love anyway. If you felt something reading this story, if you've ever rooted for an impossible love, or been cast aside for being different, subscribe to the channel. There are more stories like this waiting for you. And leave a comment. What would you do if you were Ethan? Or if you were Kara? Thanks for sticking with us to the end. See you on the next mission.